Who are the top cornerbacks the Rams should target in this upcoming draft in rounds one, two, or three? We'll talk about that next on this off-season draft episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. Like, subscribe, share this video, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. We very much appreciate it. Mark, how you doing today, my friend?
Pretty good. Talk about some cornerbacks. This should be fun. I think I've been deliberating what the Rams should do with this cornerback group. I think I like our unit, the guys we have, but
Yeah.
there's certainly room for improvement.
There definitely is. And to paint the picture, Rams Nation, let's be real about the cornerback situation currently for the Rams. Akella Witherspoon is signed to basically a vet minimum deal, right? No more than $3 million, 1 year deal. So his guarantee to be back in future years is 0% as of right now, right? If he plays great, then of course, but no guarantee, right? You have Darius Williams on his year 2 out of 3 with this contract he signed. But if things don't go well or he does not play at a Pro Bowl level, he will not be back. Let's not kid ourselves. Jacoby Durant is on his final year of his rookie contract. Unless he balls out, he is unlikely to be back. Darion Kendrick is coming off a torn ACL and is in his final year 4 contract of his rookie campaign thus far in the NFL, I should say. He is no guarantee to be back. Emmanuel Forbes Jr., who we picked up off waivers, the former first round pick that we got from Washington, he's a first round reject. There's no guarantee he's any good at all with us, and who knows if he'll be sticking around. So that, and then obviously other players that are around will be drafted, free agents, maybe that come up. All these things, of course, of course, of course. But that's a lot of players that are not penciled in for future years, Mark, Rams Nation. So with that, I feel like no doubt about it, all the corners we'll talk about today, I think at least one of them will be drafted by the Rams. Now, what round will it be? Who knows? Depends on how the draft unfolds and where guys go and who gets picked, team needs, yada, yada, yada. You know the deal, how that goes with players being elevated because the team needs them more than what they're actually worth. So, with that, let's talk about corners. And I'm ranking them based on film, not on highlight tapes, not on what other people are saying. What did I see with my own 2 eyes, and how do I feel about them? So let's start with number one, who I think is round one worthy. And I think this isn't a shock to any of you or any football person out there. That is the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. He is round one worthy, in my opinion. Not only as a wide receiver, who I think he's number one in that, I also think he's number one as a DB currently, and round one worthy for sure. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him, real quick, about at least defense and anything else?
He's 6 feet 188. He won the Lot Impact Trophy. That's the award given to the top defensive player who exhibits integrity, maturity, performance, academics, community, and tenacity. So he's checking a lot of boxes there. He
Mm-hmm.
also won the Paul Hornung Award as the most versatile player in college football. Makes sense.
That's right.
And they compare him to Lance Zierlein, anyways, compares him to Darius Slay.
Interesting to Darius Slay. A lot of these comparisons by Lance, and I end up liking him more than some other people. Some people always go like all pro level guys. You know how that goes, Rams Nation as well. You're like, okay, let's not compare him to future Hall of Famers or guys who have been multiple time Pro Bowlers. You know how that goes. So a lot of Lance's comparisons that you share with us, share with me, I end up liking them pretty good. Darius Slay, I like that a lot. So with Travis Hunter, not only is he an incredible wide receiver, but he's a hell of a defensive back as well. So with him, a lot of his explosiveness and twitchiness translates for me into being a corner, a secondary member. I think really, Mark, not only can you put him on the outside and let him press on people, right? And run around with people, I think he could totally do that. He's really, really good in zone coverage and reading defenses, reading quarterbacks' eyes, reading receivers' tendencies. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this guy may not be like, hey, go out there and run stride for stride with Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase, who burn everybody. Like, let's be realistic. Is there any corner that's good that can keep up with those guys? I don't think so. Is there any corner that could keep up with Justin Jefferson more times than not? Not really. Now, look at granted, Keller Witherspoon and others did a good job of them in the wild card game, so there are times they slip up and we get them. But overall, any of these corners we'll talk about today, yes, some are faster than Travis and yada yada yada, but expecting there to be some shutdown 2020 Jalen Ramsey, right? When he had his incredible lockdown season leading the Rams to number one defense. That's unrealistic. And it's unrealistic to think Travis Hunter is going to be that play in and play out, especially if he plays both sides of the ball, what I anticipate happening. But definitely can play man, definitely can play press man coverage, is absolutely fantastic in zone. Again, reading quarterback's eyes, great feet, great anticipation, great hands, ball hawk. I mean, just the complete package. Outside corner, inside slot, nickel, big nickel, star position that we call it. Throw him at safety. Screw it. Have him be a strong safety. Have him be a free safety. I mean, this dude is an ultimate defensive back, secondary player. And, you know, to my dream scenario I presented during the wide receiver section talking about him, if there's just some miracle where he slips and falls for whatever reason, I mean, everyone in the Rams leadership, pick up that damn phone and call to make a trade for him. Unrealistic, but he's round one worthy, and I think I've said enough about him, right, Mark?
Yeah, and you know, if he landed on the Rams, I suspect with Sean McVay as the head coach, he's a wide receiver first, cornerback second, perhaps.
Yeah,
I
and that's
just
how it
don't know.
should be anyway, truthfully.
Right, right. I just be curious to see how that plays out, regardless of where he ends up.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think every team that drafts him, I think they'll be like, hey, wide receiver first because you're insane. And then DB will have you out there second, in second place. But he'll still make an impact there. I mean, this would be the perfect guy for the star role, right? Let's think of it this way, Rams Nation. No one other than Jalen Ramsey for the Rams has ever liked playing the star. Sincerely. He's the only one. Every other player you can think of, Quinn Lake, Kobe Durant, Okello, Darius Williams, Darion, whoever else I'm forgetting, all of them said they were never comfortable in it. They'd rather play outside or at safety, right, for Quinn. And Jalen Ramsey's the only guy. Travis Hunter would be an A plus star player, right? Get him near the ball, let him make plays. I mean, it would be a fantastic fit. So that's to give you a picture of this type of player he is. Just get him on the field, let him make plays. And I think defenses will have a similar, or defensive coordinators, whoever he gets drafted to, will have a similar thing. Let's just get him in positions to be near the ball and make plays, ball hawk, intercept, yada, yada, yada. So, all right, enough about him. Dream scenario, we'll see what the hell happens with Travis Hunter, of course. But the next player who I think is round one worthy, no doubt about it, is University of Michigan cornerback Will Johnson. Definitely round one worthy. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Well, he's 6'2", 194, third team All-American. He set a school record in 2024 with 3 pick sixes, missed half the season with a foot injury.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen how healthy. He should be okay. He should be good to go start of the season. But a lot of these guys you're going to hear about um, had injury issues in the second part of 2024. But yeah, he's a bigger cornerback. And I think he's pretty much stacked up as the number two guy on most boards I've seen.
Yeah. And the injury stuff is concerning, right? But again, I'm just seeing when he's healthy and out there. I think his speed is not as fast as some people make it to be, truthfully. I don't think he's just some blazing fast guy like some people like to claim, which not everyone says that, but I've seen a lot more than I thought I would about people proclaiming that he's fast after I studied myself. But in terms of just his explosion, right? In terms of hip movement, in terms of attacking ball carriers, in terms of attacking, let's just say someone who's running like a big stop route. I mean, he's so good at staying glued to those guys. So in terms of his man-to-man coverage ability, in terms of staying on a player's opposing player, a wide receiver's hip pocket, right? What I'm meaning by that is corner just lockstep, step by step, hip to hip, in his hip pocket, staying with him, right? He's fantastic at that. I mean, he does not lose ground hardly ever in man-to-man coverage. Once he gets a good jam and he gets a good press on you, which I think he's very good with his hands too, by the way. I think he's very good. Some corners are not giving a good enough jam at the line of scrimmage, right? They're really just kind of like lunging forward. That's really not to do it. You really just got to go hand, hand, hand and be strong in your upper body, not necessarily full body pushing like I know some corners like to do. So I think that once he gets his hand on you, he can stay on you hip to hip and really, do good in man-to-man coverage. Again, not as fast as I think, but I think he can hang with a lot of wide receivers for sure. Zone coverage is absolutely excellent. No doubt about it. Another great scheme fit for the Rams as we do a lot of zone, a lot of quarters coverage, right? Cover six, sometimes cover four, a lot of cover six, though. And we do obviously two and three and so forth and so forth. And we do a lot of combo coverage. The Rams do like to do a lot of different stuff, but tons of zone. He would definitely fit that in terms of reading receivers' hips when he's not in man, in terms of recognizing plays, in terms of reading the quarterback's eyes. It's excellent. Absolutely excellent. Tackling, I wish it was a little bit better, though. I will say that. And especially in run defense altogether. It could be better, but I think a lot of times he's banged up, right? That's the issue. He's been hurt a lot. And I think if he was fully healthy, then I think he could probably play a little bit better, of course. But overall, round one worthy corner, got the size, got the man skills. I think if he's healthy, he'll be faster, and then definitely a great scheme fit for the Rams zone heavy, 3-4 defense that we run with a lot of, safeties and corners on the field. So round one worthy for sure, Mark.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at this picture here of Will Johnson, and it struck me, kind of reminds me of Ahkello Witherspoon. And I just checked, Johnson checking in at 6'2", 194, Ahkello Witherspoon 6'2", 194. So
Oh,
there you go.
interesting. There you
Just
go.
a coincidence.
Hey, like I told you, a lot of corners are not going to return for the Rams next year. So someone, all these guys talk about one of them is getting drafted at least one of them. But another corner who I really enjoyed seeing play, who I believe is round one or two worthy, depending how the team values his playing style and all this stuff, would be from the University of Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron, as he is somebody who I really enjoyed watching as just an overall good football player. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Checks in at 5'11", 194, first team All-American. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, best cornerback in college football. That's the same award Trey Tomlinson won, remember, a couple years back. Runs a
Yeah.
4.39 40. He was the Peach Bowl MVP. That was that crazy game, Texas and Arizona State, 2 overtimes. He had 11 tackles in that game. On the
Yeah.
season, 11 pass breakups, started all 16 games, 67 tackles. And he's going to be, in my opinion, a player that's going to go earlier than you'd think. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
And Lance compared him to Tyke Smith.
Interesting. That's an interesting comparison. So with him, Rams Nation, I have him as round one or two worthy, right? I can see him going in round one. I can see him going in round two. And let's explain why I feel that way. I can see him going in round one because of his just overall prowess in zone coverage. It's so effing good, right? His play recognition, be able to decipher what the receivers are doing, having the play recognition, right? Obviously, that's a lot of film study, but he's excellent at that. Matters. A lot of reading the quarterback's eyes, just having a knack to be around the football, all that. Great tackler, great at the point of attack. Run defense is fantastic. Making plays on the football is fantastic, right? I mean, just absolutely what a great football player. It's my style of guy. Old school, ready to smash mouth people in the face, impose their physical will on them. I absolutely love it. And again, the zone coverage is absolutely excellent. Now, here is where I can see player or teams being like, we like all that, but is that round one worthy? Maybe not for us, because he is not good in man-to-man coverage. He is not good pressing at the line of scrimmage. That's just not his game. Again, he's not over 6 foot. He's 5'11", right, Mark? So he's more like Darius Williams-esque size and smaller, if you could say. But again, when he is in man-to-man coverage, he's not just out there lost, like he's just completely getting smoked or anything like that. That's really not it. What it is with him is just he's not the fastest, and it's just hard for him to keep up. And that's just not his game. He is a perfect player for the Ram zone scheme that we run. So a team like us at pick 26, where they say, hey, you would be great in that nickel star position. You'd be perfect. And he would. Hey, you need to play some box safety, right? In certain roles. He'd be perfect, right? To be close to the line of scrimmage and make some tackles. Hey, you need to play some traditional safety. I think he could totally do that as well. So again, the Rams, I think, could value him as a first round guy, and other teams that run heavy zone. But teams that want to run a lot more men, they would be like, that's not our guy. He's not a round one worthy pick. So because of that, I think for Rams and for our purposes, he's round one worthy. But I totally can see why other teams with other, schemes on defense would be like, hey, that's not our guy. Let's just say the Rams did a lot more men. I would totally be like, no, he's not round one worthy, in my opinion. But hell of a good football player. I mean, the guy is a baller. Again, play him wherever on the field. And again, he can play some outside corner too. I don't think he's just an inside guy, but he'd be perfect for that star role, Mark. And if we picked him at pick 26, I'd be very happy with this. And I'd be shocked if it didn't work out, him playing in our secondary.
Yeah, and I told you beforehand how much Todd McShay loves this guy, and McShay ran some film on him. He has a very unique skill, getting his hands on the ball just as it arrives to the receiver, knocking it away, disrupting the catch. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about interceptions, but just getting his hands in on the receiver as he's catching the ball and knocking it away. Just a very unique skill. He's really good at it.
No, he definitely is. So round one worthy for us, but totally get the argument. And I totally understand why he could fall to the second round because of his lack of speed, because of his lack of man to man coverage and ability to compete at the line of scrimmage and press. I get it, but they can be improved upon. But as of right now, round one or two worthy for Texas corner, Jahdae Barron. But I like him a ton. And here's another player, Mark, who is kind of on the fence, depending on which round, depending how teams feel about him for multiple reasons. That would be from East Carolina University, Siobhan Ravel. If I hope I said that right, Jesus. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Yeah, he's one of the bigger guys, 6'2", 194, the same measurements as we talked about with Will Johnson and Witherspoon. Played in only
Yeah,
3 games in 2024, though, tore his ACL in
yeah,
practice. So he's coming back from an injury. At 2023, though, you go back to 2023, 12 pass breakups, 55 tackles, a sack, an interception, 2 blocked kicks. And he's just a big, long, fast cornerback. They compare him to, and I'm going to struggle with this name. I think it's Benjamin St. Juste. Did I pronounce that one right?
Oh, your guess is as good as mine. But uh, with him though, Mark and Rams Nation, because there wasn't much film on him, right? Let's just be real. And the injury and all that, I'm just going on what I saw, and I understand the argument about the quote unquote who did he play right at Eastern Carolina or East Carolina, excuse me. So I get all that too, but I'm just gonna go off what I saw with the available snaps that he did play this season. So in terms of the speed, he's freaking fast. He's got excellent speed. In terms of explosion and all that, good explosion. Obviously, he has the good size and measurables to be able to, line up against bigger wide receivers, really true number one X quote unquote wide receivers. Definitely got that. That's a plus. In terms of press coverage, very, very good. He has very, very good hands, similar to Will Johnson, in my opinion. Knows how to punch well, knows how to fight off other receivers, trying to whip away or doing the slash move, some coaches like to call it. He's very good. His footwork, pretty solid. In terms of staying and mirroring, right, and staying on the hip pocket, it's kind of up and down for what I saw. So he does have the speed, but I think that could be something he works on for sure, is staying in that hip pocket that I'm talking about, right? Mirroring and being close, running with the wide receiver, right? Hip to hip. That's what I mean by that. But in terms of like him being out like physical than that, that's not happening. It's more just like, hey, let's get disciplined with your eyes and be able to stay with them. But I think he has the athletic ability and speed to do that. Zone coverage, pretty good. Nothing crazy, right? Could he maybe recognize some things a little bit better? Could be able to have more, awareness, excuse me, of his surroundings, sure, that can be improved, but it's pretty solid overall. Tackling, I think he did a hell of a job. Run defense, I think he did a good job as well. In terms of, getting to the ball, I think he got his hands on some football. It's pretty nice. And I wish I would have saw more tape, Mark. But for all these things that are all a lot of positives and that can be coached up, I think definitely round two worthy, right? You can say, oh, we like all these traits. We like all this. He can definitely be a round two worthy guy, in my opinion. But I get the argument, and I can see why he would flip into round three because injury. Hey, we didn't like that. He didn't stick to man to man coverage all the time. He was very inconsistent. Hey, we didn't like a lot of maybe some of his, lapses in zone. Wasn't many, but it could have been better. So I get all that. And then plus where he comes from school wise, who they were playing, right? Not in the SEC, not in the Big Ten, not in the ACC, not in the Big 12. So I get all that. But the measurables and all that, round two worthy in what you saw. All the negatives, including the school and all that stuff, I see round three worthy, and I get that argument as well with him.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is he looks like he has all everything it takes, but there's some risk involved. Just a
Yeah,
couple small risks associated with him. And by the way,
there's
I
there's
had to,
there's a lot of risk, truthfully.
yeah, and I had to look it up. I felt bad. That's Benjamin St. Just. Just. He's a
Oh, okay.
cornerback for the Chargers. I
All right,
was
I'll
not
respect.
familiar with him, and I will never forget his name moving forward.
Good. That's what we do here. We live and we learn. That's how we do it here on Rams Up, everyone, and you too. I know you guys do too. But the next player who I believe is round two or three worthy, depending on how you look at him, would be from the Florida State University, Azahiri Thomas, and hopefully I said that name correct as well.
So he's 6'1.5", 197, honorable mention all ACC, started all 12 games, 52 tackles, one interception, four pass breakups. They call him a press man cornerback. According to Lance, average speed but excellent length. And he's a guy Jared Verse was lobbying for a couple of months ago for the Rams to draft. Lance compared him to Jalen Watson.
Interesting. Okay, I don't mind that comparison at all. So with him, Rams Nation, we'll start off with this press ability. Excellent hand usage, right? Very good as well. Not maybe as good as Will Johnson, of course, but pretty dang good. That can be coached up more. I like that. In terms of, being able to get his hips around and start running with receivers in man, I think is excellent as well. In terms of staying on players' hip pockets, good at times, not perfect, but I'd say it's good. And then being able to, once he knows what's going on in terms of like, oh, you're running a corner, I got you. He's fantastic in that. But obviously play breaking down and all that stuff, things get a little wacky, just like any player. And zone coverage, it was average, truthfully, though, Mark, from what I saw on tape. I definitely thought it could have been a lot better. Wasn't bad, wasn't good, about average, right? Sometimes he would get lost a little bit, but I think they were just running so much man with him that it was just, he's just locked in on that one mode. But I think that could be coached up for sure. But ironically, with his man to man stuff, he didn't look very fast to me. But again, he was so good at the line of scrimmage about jamming up, he wasn't getting a lot of receivers to get good releases, which is very, very key if you're going to be pressing and not be some fast guy in man to man. Does that make sense? Which is, hey, you better be able to get a good jam on him in that 5 yard cushion where it's legal, or, he was going to get toast. And that did happen a few times. Just like any corner, you're not going to be perfect every rep unless you're, Deion Sanders, prime Darrell Revis. It's just impossible. But the speed, right? And in terms of tackling, I didn't like it that much. It could have been a lot better. I thought the effort could have been better. Not that I'm not saying he didn't try or anything like that, but too many broken tackles that I didn't like. The run defense was average, right? His tackling is average. In terms of his ball skills, I thought were good though. So a lot to like about him, right? A bigger corner. He's very handsy in a good way. He can size up big wide receivers. He can get good jams to not get beat for speedier guys and all that. But he has a lot of stuff to be coached up on, in my opinion. But similar to Ravel, good traits, good size. Can those things be coached up? Then you take that chance on him in round two because you like about all the positives. If you say, we don't like that he's not very fast, right, to NFL standards. I really didn't like how he played zone. I didn't like his tackling, then you say, nah, he's more round 3 for me. So I get both sides of it. The Rams take him in either round, then I can accept it, you know?
Yeah, and Jared Verse, I remember, I don't remember the exact stat, but he did post something to the effect that he statistically he gets it done. You know, he covers receivers, quarterback
Yep.
ratings against Thomas are, he's impressive statistics, very low percentage completion percentage in his coverage. So you may see some holes, but at the end of the day, he's got some pretty good stats.
Yeah, no, he does. And again, it's just depending on how teams would feel about him. What do they value? How do they value tackling? How do they value zone coverage? Like for us, we do a lot more zone. Maybe the Rams are like, he's more of a third round pick for us, right? Because a lot of men, we don't do that. We do more zone. His zone stuff was kind of inconsistent. Then Rams would be like, hey, he's more of a third round guy for us. Other teams, right? A la Detroit Lions, a la Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They want more hand. They want more handsy guys, press, press, press. And there's other teams too, they would be like, hey, that's more of a second round guy for us, right? It all just depends on your flavor. So that's why round 2 or 3, and I think that's fair, depending on what our preference is. But I think more of a round 3-ish guy for us. But wouldn't be shocked if we went round 2 and Rams really liked him. Again, this is all based on film, no character, no interviews, not how you talk, not how you understand football, like all those important things that get guys drafted lower or higher. That's not what I'm talking about. Just purely scheme and what I saw in the film. Okay, so with that said, keep that in mind as we keep talking about other guys here. As we move on to the next cornerback, and this is from the University of Kentucky, be Maxwell Hairston. Round 2 or 3 worthy as well, in my opinion. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
So he comes in at 5'11", 183. And if you're looking for speed, this is one of your guys.
Yeah,
2023, second team All ACC, 5 interceptions, 2 pick sixes.
yeah,
And in 2024, he missed 5 games due to a shoulder injury. Did have a pick six in that season as well, though. He is Taiwan Jones' cousin. Little trivia there for you. But yeah, his game is all
oh, that's
about
cool.
speed.
Yeah. So let's talk about that speed then. I mean, it's pretty wow, right? It is. Oh, damn. So with him, we'll talk about the press. We'll start about that. Not good hand usage, in my opinion. Very average to below average. Very doesn't get a lot of handsy. That could be coached up though. In terms of being able to turn around and then start running with guys is excellent though, right? I think he gets away with it, right? Do you have a superpower that you can get away with some stuff that you're not so good at? That's one of them. And then the speed to keep up with the burner guys and even the makeup speed. So there was plenty of times where he maybe got beat on, let's just say, a go route, a streak, a corner, a post, maybe a double move. But he had that speed. He had like another gear to kick it in and catch up and make a play, make the tackle, make a pass breakup. And that's very, very valuable, right? So that was a lot of, oh, wow, he's lucky because he's a super freak speed wise, right? In terms of zone coverage, I thought he was pretty good though, actually. And in terms of recognizing the play, understanding what the opposing offense was trying to do, being able to see it, reading quarterback's eyes. I thought that was pretty good, actually. Sometimes, though, you do see a little bit of him kind of like, oh, I'm fast enough to cheat to kind of make a play on that, and he'd get kind of screwed. He would screw himself out of that, and maybe get out of his designated assignment, what his role was supposed to be on a certain play, right? Maybe they're running cover 2, and he's like, okay, I'm supposed to be here, but man, I see that flat defender kind of faking to my area and then coming up. I'm going to go with him to make a play because the quarterback's going to get ready to throw it. And then maybe somebody would eventually get open in his area and be like, I know what you were thinking, but just stay where you were and you probably everything would have been fine. So it's a lot of little things like that because he does have that speed superpower. He's like, oh, I can get there. I can get there and make a play. And he does have good hands though, right? Sometimes I see some drops, but overall, I mean, he has, the production is there in terms of getting some pick sixes and getting turnovers. So another guy, do you like the speed? Do you like his recovery? Do you like his zone coverage ability? But if you like all those things, then you can say, we'll take a chance on him on round 2. If you don't like the way he uses his hands, if you don't like how sometimes he can get a little undisciplined in zone, or how he can get a little bit undisciplined in man. Do you not like some of his tackling and all that? I forgot to mention that some of his tackling is average to below average as well. But again, he's more of a speed guy, right? Run around and try to make plays. So if you value all these positives, then you take him in round two. If you don't like some of those things, then he's more of a round three guy. And again, I totally get both sides of it. So for the Rams argument, right, I think somebody that would be pretty good in zone. I think somebody who would be able to handle maybe some star roles and let him able to make some plays on the football or be around and cause some chaos that way. And then coach him up. Let's get better technique in zone. Let's get you better technique if we want you to go in man and run with some better corners. So a lot of things I like with them. Could see him in round two. Can easily see him in round three as well, though. So I'm teeter-tottering on him on which round he goes, and I'm curious how the Rams would feel about him because there's a lot to like, and also some stuff you can be like, we'll wait on him till round three, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I don't see the Rams using their first round pick on a cornerback like Hairston. And if they trade back, if he's there in the second, maybe if he's there in the third, he'd have to be a strong consideration.
Yeah, again, depends how this whole draft unfolds. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, we all do mocks. I'm sure you do on Rams Nation. We do them ourselves. And it's just depending on how all these unfold. And every time it's a little bit different or a lot different. I mean, it just, who knows? But I think, Rams would have interest in all the guys, including him that we've talked about thus far for sure. And somebody else who I think they would have some good interest in as we move on to the next guy I'd like to talk about, that would be cornerback from University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, Trey Amos, number 9. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Well, he played 2 years at Louisiana and then transferred to Alabama and then to Ole Miss. And
Yeah.
he's a guy that I probably have seen him mocked to the Rams more than any other player, at least over the last few weeks. First team All SEC, 13 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, 50 tackles, and 4.43 speed. And he comes in at 6 feet 195. And they compare him to Tarheeb Still.
Interesting. Interesting on that one.
I can't say much of that. I don't know. I don't know much about Still, but that's the comparison for you.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't know much about him either. But for Trey, what I saw on Physical Film Rams Nation, I think he's a round 2 or 3 worthy guy. Another tweener, depending on what you value. So let's talk about his speed. What was his 40 time again, Mark? Let me hear that.
His 40 time was 4.43. So
Okay,
not
he
too
definitely is
shabby.
not. He does not look that fast on film to me. Let's just be honest. Now he's a slowpoke, but I wouldn't say he was a 4.4 guy. Now, could he kick it in and train more and get that? But sure, just like Puka wasn't a fast guy in college, and all of a sudden he's running 21 miles per hour in the NFL and killing people every week. So you can always grow. So fair enough. So with that, I think his speed is average. I just really believe that what I saw on film. Again, not a slowpoke, but I don't think he's fast. So there we go. Let's talk about that first. So in press coverage, how does that translate? I think he's got pretty good hand usage as well, right? In terms of his turn and burn to be able to run with people, I don't think is very good, which goes with the speed a little bit as well, right? In terms of, hey, hit, and then now you got to start going with the guy, I think is average on that, okay? In terms of being in a player's hip pocket, I don't think is very good, to be honest with you, in man-to-man coverage. This is not his forte, everyone. He is not a man-to-man guy. I do not believe that. Okay, where he will make his money is being a zone corner in zone coverage, which I think his forte is that, and it is excellent. Sorry, I was just thinking of a gazillion things in my head there. Right, in terms of play recognition, right, knowing his surrounding, knowing who's coming into his zones, eyes, in the back of your head, eyes on the sides of your helmet, right. In terms of being able to read the concepts that are going on, right? Okay, oh, this receiver's going here, so this has to be going there. The other guy, so forth and so forth. Reading quarterback's eyes, play recognition, I think is all very, very excellent. In terms of his hands and tackling, I think are very good as well. His run defense, he's willing to get in there and he makes some good tackles. So for that, right, he can press, but don't have him turn and burn and play man. He can press and then go into zone. So with all that said, he's perfect for the Ram scheme, right? We do a lot of zone. Again, a lot of quarters coverage, zone in general. I think he would be an extremely good fit because of those reasons, right? Can read, make plays on the football, right? He's got, you know, a longer body, be able to make some crazy catches or attack the football and break it up, right? A good tackler. I mean, this just sounds like a Rams corner similar to Jade Barron that we talked about earlier. A total zone guy, I think, would be good in the star. Could play some box safety, can play some up top safety. Like to say, all hell broke loose and he had to. I think he could do it. Could play some outside, of course. I think this would be a great Rams fit. I could see him going in round two. And then if you're a team that doesn't do a lot of zone or doesn't value that as much, then I could see him going in round three. But for our purposes, I think he would be a round two worthy guy. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams took him there. But I could see him going in round three for all the other stuff that you don't like, right? A little bit slower player, and maybe the Rams don't like that as well. So again, another tweener guy, depending on your flavor. But this guy is a Rams flavor, a zone guy, ball player, tackler, ball hawk. I like him.
Yeah, and Daniel Jeremiah, I talked about this previously already. He loves Trey Amos for the Rams, and not because of the scheme fit
Shocker. Yeah.
you're talking about. He talked more about, he said there's just players that I see every year that look like Rams players the Rams are going to like, guys that have established themselves, checked all the boxes. They have a track record of being good football players, character, work ethic, all those things. Playing against a high level of competition, checks
Yeah.
all the Rams boxes, according to Jeremiah. And so he is going earlier. He's going in the first round in a lot of mock drafts, and maybe that's too early for him. But if the Rams really love him, like Jeremiah thinks they may, maybe he goes in
Yeah.
the first round.
That'd be hardcore. Honestly, that'd be pretty hardcore. Would I be like totally out of my mind shocked? Nothing would shock. Nothing shocks me anymore now. Teams always screw up and draft guys who don't belong. I'm not saying he doesn't belong there, but it wouldn't shock me because he does make schematic sense for what we do. So it wouldn't be like, hey, we're just drafting him to do everything. No, it would be like, hey, you're going to be a good player for what we want to do zone wise majority of the time in this Rams 3-4 style defense. Obviously, with a lot of corners and safeties and nickel package, dime package, cheetah dime. He makes sense for that. So
And
I
I
would
think
rather
he's
see
a
him going round two, but round one, I wouldn't be shocked, but you never know.
Yeah, I think he's a safe pick. I think
Yeah.
there's not a lot of risk involved with Amos. He's going to come in and
Yeah.
be a pretty good football player. Is he going to live up to a first round pick? Maybe not, but he's going to be a contributor in some fashion for sure.
No, for sure, for sure. I mean, this is somebody again plugging in that star nickel, and I think he can contribute immediately. But you never know. You never know. But I like him a ton. Round two or three worthy with Ole Miss corner Trey Amos. And who's the next corner who I think is also a tweener as well, depending on your flavor, would be Kansas State University corner Jacob Parrish. And Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
This is a guy that I was not too familiar with until you put him on your list. 5'10,
Mm,
191. Another pretty quick guy, 4.35 and a 1.51, 1 minute 51, 1.51 second, 10-yard split. I think that's pretty good. 2024 honorable mention, all Big 12, started 12 games, 50 tackles, one interception. Ball skills with inside outside versatility is a scouting report I saw, and they compared him to the Cardinals cornerback Garrett Williams.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Not a bad comparison. So with him, Rams Nation, he's definitely a faster corner. He's got some speed to him, no doubt about it. He can keep up. He's no slow poke, any of those things. I mean, he's got some good explosiveness in his game, in my opinion. Another player who's pretty good in press coverage, really good with his hands, a good 1-2, punch. Maybe even sometimes you see techniques where it's like punch and kind of ride a guy in that 5-yard cushion to the outside. I mean, he's got good technique with his hands, very, very good. Some good footwork, right? In terms of the press, in terms of, again, when I'm talking about like not lunging in, very, very good. In terms of like turning and burning, I think is average though. And that could be worked on. Maybe he gets a little bit faster, which is kind of weird for somebody who's fast. But again, hip explosion, being able to twist and turn is not the same as just running in a straight line and once you start going, right? It's a little bit different. So that could be worked on in my opinion. In terms of staying on his hip, on a player's hip pocket, inconsistent. There's times where I'm like, oh, he's doing a real good job being sticky. Other times I'm like, you lost him on that, okay? in terms of being able to attack, let's say somebody's doing, a stop or um, the comeback routes. He's able to, put his foot in the ground and be able to attack back on the route, make a tackle or get a pass breakup. I think that's not bad either. In terms of his zone coverage, I think is good. There could be some work, right? He's not bad. He's not average, but he's not, I wouldn't say good either, if that makes sense in terms of like play recognition and all that. But that could be worked up, that he can learn those skills. He can get more awareness in that, in that style, right? In terms of tackling, I thought he was a pretty dang good tackler. I thought he was very, very good, right? He's not afraid. Obviously, he's a smaller guy, so he's not making bulldozing tackles on everybody, right? I did like that they sent him on some blitzes. I think he did have some good pressure, similar to Kobe Durant. You see him, right? Kobe's a faster guy as well. You can see him attack downfield and be able to get some pressure. And I saw that every now and then from him, so I like that. He's got some versatility in that. In terms of like his hands and all that, a little bit better, I think. That could be better, right? But I think he's very, very good in press. And I think this is somebody who you could really feel comfortable with putting him in that nickel spot, putting him in that star position, and let him do work in there, right? Because he's really good with the jamming. I think he's got the speed to keep up with some slot guys and all that. And he can be coached up with more technique with his feet, be able to have better technique with playing man, and be able to have, some better, zone coverage ability. All those things can be boosted up. So, for him, if you like the speed, you like the athleticism, you like all that stuff, hey, you take a chance on him in round two, right? If you say, hey, we don't really like some of the inconsistencies on that, his zone coverage stuff, everything's just kind of depending on how you feel about him, right? Oh, we really like the tackling, or hey, wish he was a little making more of a ball, a stronger physical player at the point of attack. Then you could say, hey, he's more of a round three worthy guy, right? So in terms of how he fits with the Rams and all that, he's kind of a tweener. I could see him being like, hey, we want you to play that star nickel and be able to jam guys up and run around and, make plays on the football and just be, be sticky when you can. But hey, we got to coach you up in some aspects of that. And hey, we like you to jam up and then drop into zone, but hey, we'll coach you up in that too. But we like your speed and be able to, be aggressive at the line. Again, he's a tweener, so I can see both ways. But if I had to guess, I think he's more round three, if I had to be real, just for any team, not just Rams or another. But someone that I like. I think he's got a lot of promise for sure.
Yeah, I don't know much about this guy. I'm gonna have to dive into him a little bit more. I think I've been
Yeah.
looking at some of these other guys so much, Amos and obviously Barron, who I love,
Yeah.
and Will Johnson. So he's a guy that potentially, a later round pick for the Rams would make sense. If
Yeah.
they if these guys at the top of the draft evade them, looks like I guess guys like Parrish will have to be on their radar.
Yep. And that's pretty much it. That's this will have to be. Again, we'll see how the draft unfolds. It can go a gazillion different ways for sure. But another tweener, Rams Nation. Well, I enjoyed watching this film as well, and somebody I wasn't familiar with at all, and yet again, would be from Iowa State University, Darian Porter, who I think is round two or three worthy, depending on what you value, of course. Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
6'3", 195, and this guy really hangs his hat, or for most of his career, hung his hat on special teams. He's a sixth-year senior, right? So he didn't
Yeah.
really get on the field until his senior year as a cornerback. 2024, though, honorable mention, All Big 12. He had two blocked kicks, set a school record with 64 games played, thanks to that 6 years as 5 years as primarily a special teamer. And it did have three interceptions last year. And, elite traits and obviously going to be special teams value with a guy like this. And they compared him to our friend up in Seattle, Reek Woolen.
Interesting. Interesting. He's a bigger guy. I get that. So, in terms of Darian Porter, this is a player I like. This is another player that I really enjoyed watching. So, in terms of speed and like his explosiveness and running around, I mean, he's freaking fast. Like, he's definitely a speedster, no doubt about it. And he's a bigger guy, so that's very, very valuable. In terms of press coverage and how that translates, right? Definitely needs work with being able to press around. Definitely could get better footwork instead of lunging and doing all the stuff, that could get you to lose, traction to wide receiver. But in terms of turning and burning, right? getting his hips around to start running, he's very good. He's excellent at that. So that's a really big plus, right? The hand stuff could be coached up. Cool. In terms of, staying in a player's hip pocket, inconsistent. Sometimes you're like, ooh, that was a great rep right there. You got him. Other times you're like, oh, you lost him there, man. And again, I think those things could be acquired and coached up and all that. But strong dude, right? He's not getting bullied around. He's just sometimes just losing people. And I think those skills could be acquired and gathered. In terms of zone coverage, I think that's excellent. Voila. That's where the Rams fit comes in here. Play recognition, I think, is fantastic, right? Reading receivers, seeing the concepts, quarterback eyes, making, good plays on the football to be able to, cause disruption, I think is excellent. In terms of, you know, his tackling and run defense, I don't think it's good. Let's just be honest. It's not. It's a average to below average. I guess I'm being a little nicer there. So I think, hey, let's go, dude. You're a bigger guy. Let's get the weight room. Let's get a little more effort in. I think that could be coached up as well. So he's definitely someone who could fit the Rams scheme, right? He's already pretty dang good in zone, and I think definitely has the speed and strength to get more man-to-man coverage skills. Could do that on a pinch because I've seen him do it. He has the ability that could be coached up, and then obviously could be coached up with more of the press and the hand usage to jam up wide receivers. So in terms of the Rams fit, I think it's perfect. I could see them saying, "Hey, we really like him. We'll take him in round 2 or obviously round 3 as well." Or, other teams may be like, hey, we do more men. He's really not our guy. We see, the potential in that, but we didn't like the inconsistency, so I can see him going in round 3 as well. So in terms of Rams, fit, again, makes total sense, and he can be coached up because he has the traits. I like what I saw in zone, and, he could be somebody that could develop into just an overall heck yeah corner similar to Kello. To be honest with you, Kello's really good. He can play some man. It's not perfect all the time, but he has that bigger body. He's got the speed like a Kello, and I think this could be somebody that could really fit that mold. Where it's like, hey, we need you to man up on him in a couple plays here and there, like a Kello does for us. I think he's got that body. I think he's got the speed. I think he's got that ability in him to do that. So this is somebody to take a chance on. Obviously, if the Rams like him, but somebody round 2 or 3 worthy, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's a guy, there's been a handful of guys anyways that just got there through pure persistence. And he's another one, 6 years in college football, started out as a wide receiver, didn't get his first start until his senior year, and has just gotten better and better and better, just finding ways to get on the field. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Byron Young, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, these types of guys, there's something to be said for that. And then the special teams value, that's always a little bit of a icing on the cake there.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. So, hey, we'll see what happens. A player that we got in round 2 or 3, I'd be happy with as well. I mean, just like all the other guys. Again, depends on your flavor, depends on what you like, but somebody who I think could play right away and then could even develop further with some man skills, with the size and the length, is similar to, honestly, Okello, now that I'm just thinking about it. So I like him. I like him plenty. And then who is my last player, Rams Nation, that I think is round 2 or 3 worthy? And that would be from Virginia Tech. It'd be Dorian Strong, who I think is round 2 or 3 worthy, depending on the flavor that you like of corner. But Mark, what are some fun facts and stats about him?
Okay, 6'1", 185, 4.5 speed. 2023, he was a third team All ACC, 2024 honorable mention. And in 2024, 12 games, 32 tackles, 2 interceptions. And they characterize him as a disruptive press corner. And Lance compared him to Martin Emerson.
Interesting. All right. All right. So, in terms of Dorian here, we'll start with the press stuff then. So in terms of speed, I think he's got good speed. In terms of like his explosive nature, running around, I think it's good as well. In terms of press, I think his hand usage is good. Sometimes not as good as I, would hope for, right? In terms of like, hey, you're doing a lot of man, which he did. I think he's got good footwork though, right? He's really not lunging in or he's not, getting like false steps and any of that. I think he's got good footwork. I think his turn and burn, right? Getting your hips around to start running around with receivers is pretty dang good in my opinion. I think his his staying on the hip pocket ability with wide receivers is pretty dang good as well. His ability when he's in man to be able to say, "Oh, you're running a stop or a double move to come back." He's very good about putting his foot in the ground and be able to attack that and not getting beat. Right? Think about how again when I mentioned that for other players. Think of how like Tutu Atwell is going deep and corners are like, "Uh oh," and they're bailing back, and then Tutu's able to stop, get open on that deep comeback or that deep out route. We're like, man, how does he get open all the dang time? Well, I mean, he's good at the route running and doing that, but most corners can't stop on a dime or put their foot in the ground and be able to make up and start going back downfield to keep up with them, not going deep anymore. I think he does a good job on that. In terms of zone coverage, definitely needs work on it. It's about average, honestly. I'm being nice. Sometimes I'm like, totally lost. He's just more of a man-to-man guy, but I think he could develop the skills, to learn zones, to learn the rules, to be able to play that more. But they had him tons and tons of times playing man-to-man coverage. In terms of tackling, I thought he had some good tackling. In terms of run defense, I thought it was average, right? Could be better. Again, he's not in the the full bloom of chaos when he's running around playing man so much. So this is somebody again who has a really good skill set as it is, Mark, playing man. I think he's good at it. Who maybe the Rams say, okay, we like that. That's valuable. But not our type of guy. We'll get him in round 3 because we think he's just a good overall football player, right? Hey, teams that really value the man stuff, hey, we're taking him around 2. So I can see either side of that. Probably more round 3 for what we do, but definitely can see him going in round 2 for his man ability for a lot of other teams that run that style of defense a lot more.
Yeah, pretty impressive stats here. I just stumbled across
Yeah.
another one that kind of backs up what you said. Just the second FBS cornerback since 2014 with 300 plus coverage snaps who surrendered fewer than 10 receptions and less than 100 yards receiving in a season. And
It's
that's
hardcore.
that's pretty impressive. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I think
hardcore for
it,
sure.
but based on that data there, it's almost like, well, we don't want to put him in zone. He's so
Yeah.
good and man to man. He could qualify as a shutdown corner at the NFL level if he keeps that up.
Yes. And again, it's not like picture perfect. And again, his film was good. Again, he's just man all the time. So depends on what you value. But I think definitely round 2 or 3, probably more round 3 for us, what we value. But, they could like the man stuff, like I'm saying, like other teams will. And they say, hey, we can get him to learn a little bit more of the zone and he just be a good football player to have, all around. But that concludes who I think is rounds 1, 2, or 3 worthy Rams Nation and Mark here. Now, I know some of you are like, hey, where is Benjamin Morrison? Not that I did not like him, but he's more of a man guy or, press coverage guy who I didn't think was very good in zone, and I thought his man-to-man stuff wasn't as good as the other guy, so I don't think that was round 1, 2, or 3 worthy. You could say, hey, Ian, where is, Jesus, with the cow corner, Williams? No Williams, right? You say, where is he? I would say, hey, I like the player as well, but not very good in zone. More of a, press guy, but definitely inconsistent in that too, right? Could he be coached up? Sure, I get all that. But those guys, I think, are round 4 or later, in my opinion, which so be it. We get those guys later, then I think that's where they should be valued based on, the film that I saw on them. But everyone else, the other 10 guys that we presented and went in depth today, I think all of them are rounds 1, 2, or 3 worthy, depending on what the Rams like, depending on what other teams like. But I think no doubt about it, again, real quick, Travis Hunter here and Will Johnson are definitely, no doubt about it, round 1 guys. Jahdae Barron, round 1 or round 2, depending on your flavor. Could definitely see round 1 for the Rams. Could definitely see him slipping out if the Rams go a different direction. So we'll see what the hell happens, Mark.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is if you're weak in zone coverage, you better be damn good in press for the Rams to consider you, preferably stronger in zone. But if you're weak in zone, we'll Well, accept that, but you better be damn good in press. You better be damn good at something. And the more I think
Yeah.
about this, going through these different position groups, if I had to line up the three positions the Rams are going to draft off the top here, I'm guessing cornerback, wide receiver, tight end. That's where I'm leaning. And I know a lot of guys are going to say, we need defensive linemen, we need offensive linemen. And hey, yeah, sure. But I just don't see them as priorities at the top of this draft. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, that we talked about the corners, Akello, Kobe, Darion, Darius, Emmanuel Forbes. Like none of them are guaranteed to be here next season and beyond. So it makes sense for corner to be a priority in rounds 1, 2, or 3. Again, depending on how that first round unfolds and who falls, who doesn't. I mean, that'll dictate a lot of how the rest of the draft will go for us, especially at this corner spot, which I think somebody in this top 10 that I mentioned will get drafted by the Rams. I just think that's going to happen, Mark. Rams Nation for sure.
Yeah. I think running back and linebacker are also going to be considerations. But, if
Yep.
I was a betting man, cornerback, wide receiver, tight end, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Those are always the exciting players, right? Those
Yeah,
are
it
the
is for
players that
sure.
get you pumped up on draft night when your team makes selections like that.
Yeah, most definitely. So we'll see what happens, Rams Nation. We're not very far away, and I'm excited to break down a few more position groups before draft time, and we'll try to crank out those videos to you and podcasts as fast as possible. But Rams Nation, you tuning in on YouTube, you all tuning in on the podcast side of things. I know there are comment sections to comment there as well. So let me know which cornerbacks, DBs, do you think the Rams should draft in rounds 1, 2, or 3? Is it screw it, trade up for Will Johnson? Is it screw it, give up the farm for Travis Hunter? Is it, hey, wait around for John A. Barron, pull the trigger on him? Or, hey, wait around, maybe we get Trey Amos in rounds 2 or 3. Hey, maybe we get maybe a sleeper guy, Darian Porter, who I think's got a lot of good skills. Do we get him in round 2 or 3, or whoever else we talked about today, or other guys I did not mention? So let me know in the comment section, both on YouTube, the podcast side of things, wherever you tune in there, and let me know. I'm interested to read those and see what your guys' thoughts and frame of mind is on that as well.
Good stuff, Ian. Getting us all caught up on the cornerbacks. Good stuff.
Yes, and man, a lot of good players in this draft, Mark. I just a lot of good players that we have a chance to make a push with for sure. But man, Rams Nation, the draft is very soon, and we will not stop. We will have more draft content in the days leading up to this upcoming Thursday. Wow, went by so fast. But again, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share this video, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams and football fans out there. We very much appreciate it. But before we get out of here, you know how we got to end it, baby. Go Rams.
That's right.